Friends, this program is brought to you by the generous support of people like you. Founders Church of Religious Science Center for Spiritual Living in Los Angeles is committed to providing you with inspirational messages daily and weekly to enhance your spiritual journey into your best possible life. To become a supporter, please visit our website or click the link on this page to inform you on how to make your gift. We thank you.
Hello, friend. You can see me dressed up in my pink this morning, and I bet you can't say why. Yes, it's Mother's Day. It's Happy Mother's Day to all of you women who have children, and to all of you women anyway. It's just the honor that we need to pay to our women folks, in my opinion, the better part of the species. I say the better part of the species because I had that kind of relationship with my mother. My mother was a Black Jamaican woman, and my father was from China. And so I get the strange names. People look at me and say, how is it somebody who looks like you has a name like Chang? And I said, well, that's my parents' fault. But the beauty about this is that I didn't have to learn how to get along with the races. I recognize, as my father seemed to have recognized, that there's only one race. Yeah, people are different in color and shape and form, but I will tell you what they have in common. They have love for their children. And that's what my mother had for me. I can remember when I was a Boy Scout that she would do anything. We didn't have a lot of money, but we weren't poor, as some people were poor. We just weren't rich. I don't know that we were middle class either, but my mother would do whatever it takes for her to make sure I got my Scout uniform, I was able to go out and do the things I enjoy, and she was always so supportive. So for me, my mother has passed, and I can say, Happy Mother's Day, Mom, and thank you so much for everything, and I'm sure you can do that with your mom. So let me get to what I'm here for primarily. I want to share some thoughts for changing your life, and I want to come to it in a way that says that God is active in the world today, just as God was ever active in the world. We see in the Bible that God is saying such and such to somebody. And they lived in a different era where they were more conscious of the fact that they were communing and listening and all that. But this does happen to us still. We are still listening. I love it that one of the great thinkers of science in our time is Einstein, who says, I want to know the thoughts of the old one, or God, the rest is detail. And you can see the amazing things that Einstein did, so much so that he says, imagination is greater than knowledge. Why? Because imagination throws us in a far-flung way into future possibilities, and not just have us in this little foxhole of what we call the present time. I know everybody's in love with the present time, but let me say this, that the thinkers that are most valuable to us are not just the ones that are talking about the present time, are the ones who can give our lives hope and give us a sense of what the future can be. And then in the present, we live toward it. And this is really what some of these people have done. And some of them may not even be religious in the sense that we consider religious. But think about the word religion. It comes from the Latin religare, which means to bind back to the source. And so whether you belong to a church or don't belong to a church, or you belong to Christianity or Judaism or Islam or Hinduism or whatever, these are just cultural different ways in which people have been able to listen to the universal God that, if you really want to know, doesn't really have a religion. Because all people and all things and the entire universe belongs to Him. And if you want to get a shape of that, just think about the fact that Earth is no more than a mote of dust compared to the vastness of the universe. And then you will get over yourself and your ego to say, this is the right one, this is the only right one, and so on and so forth. Yes, like you, I believe Jesus was divine, but I also know that we are all sons and daughters of God, and therefore we too are divine. And as Jesus said himself, the kingdom of God is within you. So let's see how some people have done this. And what we're looking for is not just to sit on the fence and say, yeah, you great people, they're wonderful. The thing about the people who seem exceptional is that from my point of view, from our point of view in New Thought and the Science of Mind, we think of these people as examples of what we ourselves can be. And so when we hear the verse, lives of great men all remind us that we can make our lives sublime and depart and leave behind us footprints on the sand of time. The idea is we can set the tone for the others who are coming back of us, just as others have done for us. And so we're going to look at how some of the people have set the tone for us. I'm going to talk about don't give up if you want to change your life. Simplify your life. Optimism leads to accomplishment. Keep your eyes on the star and your feet on the ground. It's not what you get, it is who you become that's important. And knowing is not enough. Apply. Okay, let's see if we can get all this done. It was the great Thomas Edison who said, in the context of don't give up, our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. Now, you have to understand, Edison was one of the great inventors in our country, in the United States, and in the world. And here's a man who didn't even go through the normal school initiations and learning. He mostly learned on his own. But he was such a genius, and he had such a curiosity about things, that he was able to do many of the things we take for granted today, like the light bulb and electricity and many of these things that we have commonly now throughout our city. Emerson had a lot to do with it. But he also failed many, many times. Because when you are going into a new field, you're really coming up to the edge of your knowledge. And this is what Einstein is talking about when he says, we must have that imagination. It is, you're guided only by your imagination. And your imagination is the intuition that is downloaded from the one mind, which is God's mind. And if you are trying, for example, in your life to go beyond the boundaries that you've known, and it seemed not to be working, don't give up. That's what this wonderful Edison is telling us. Don't give up. Now, when we look at what has happened to us in COVID-19, we hear that many people have dropped out of the market for jobs. Don't give up. Don't drop out. There is one job that is out there for you, and you can find it. And that's all you need. It's one job. Don't worry about the fact that there are not all these thousands of jobs. You don't care. What you have is the consciousness that there is one job out there for me, and I'm being led and guided to it by an infinite mind that knows what to do, when to do it, where to do it, and how to do it. And so the idea is for us not to allow our sense of hopelessness and fear and depression to prevent us from making an important change, because once you get out and cross that threshold, you will find a whole new life opening up to you that you can live. And this is really what you are living for. So how do we get to a stage where we can do like Edison? We learn to meditate. Why? Because when you meditate, you're quieting the chattering monkeys of the mind. The constant chattering that tells you, no, I can't. No, there's this problem. That's the problem. No, you don't want that. You want to understand what the psalmist meant when he says, be still and know that I am God. The I am of you is God. So you're the little I am, and God is the great I am. And you learn how to be still and let go, because that is a power greater than you are, and a presence that is compassionate and loving and cares about you in terms of what you want to do with your life and is willing to help. And once you begin to meditate, to get into the silence, and to meditate, you don't have to take a course or take a class. Go walk outside and look at the beauty of the trees and the grass and the flowers and people, and just bathe yourself into that beauty. And that becomes a meditation. That becomes a letting go of all the confusion in your mind and bring you into that plane of stillness. And once you have achieved that, then you do your prayer work. The prayer work, prayer is for a specific result. And so I would say then that I know that there is a mind within me, which is God, that knows what to do, when to do it, where to do it, and how to do it, and is doing it right now. And I'm being led and guided to find my right place in this life, or my right action in this life, or my right opportunity, whatever it is that is important to you. That's what you're saying. So that is the value of don't give up. Don't give up, because the people who give up have surrendered their freedom and their future to their sense of hopelessness. And now God has become your sense of hopelessness instead of your sense of infinite possibilities. Let's go to simplify your life. This one I'm taking from Einstein. And Einstein is recognizing, as a brilliant mind like that would recognize, that life is complex. Every day there are a wave of more things coming into our vision and in our sphere of activity, and we have to find a way to deal with that. So Einstein says, out of clutter, find simplicity. From discord, find harmony. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. So let's take them one by one. Out of clutter, find simplicity. You know, Stephen Covey gives us a real good way to simplify our lives. He had 4 quadrants in which he says, determine what is urgent, what is important, what is not urgent, and what is not important. And when you make a list of these things that you must take care of in your life, then take care of the ones that are urgent first. They're urgent, you got to do them, you got to pay the taxes, you got to pay the bill on time, whatever it is that you need to do that is urgent, take care of that first. But where you really want to spend your time is not in the sense of urgency. Where you want to spend your time is in what is important. You need a list to tell you what's important. And what is not important and what is not urgent, put them aside. And if you can, delegate them. But what happens most of the time with people is that they take care of the unimportant things and they use up their time, and the important things don't really get taken care of. So that's how you simplify. Now, he says from discord, find harmony. Well, there are some people that we can look at who had discord. For example, one of my best examples is Tommy Lasorda, who just recently died as one of the most important and popular Dodger who has ever lived. And Tommy Lasorda's situation is really intriguing. In the minors, he never was able to make it to the majors. Well, every year he would go crying back and returning to Canada because he didn't make the team. And Sandy Koufax was the pitcher in front of him, and Sandy Koufax was a great, great pitcher. But Tommy never gave up either. He went and became a manager in the minors, and finally, third baseman in the majors, and finally, the manager. And he has become a great manager, and he's now in the Hall of Fame. So what I'm showing you is that it really works for two. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. It works for both. He found harmony, he found opportunity. And to look at another one, you can see that Steve Jobs was fired from the company that he founded, which is Apple. And can you imagine how devastating that must feel? Anyone who has ever been fired from a job can know that. But from a company that you started? And finally, he was called back. And that's when the thing took off. So there was opportunity in the midst of it. So let's take a look at optimism leads to accomplishment. This comes from Helen Keller. She says, optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. So optimism must be your prevailing state of consciousness. You must sustain that. It's your sustaining thing. So people might say, you're a Pollyanna. Okay. So let them call names. You know, there's an old saying that sticks and stones are only thrown at fruit-bearing trees. So people are going to get at you when you do something. It's when you do nothing that nobody cares about you. So the people who are optimistic work at their vision. And they find that if they work at their vision, creativity will be their constant companion. And where creativity is, success is sure to follow. So my friends, it also brings about the activation of the law of attraction. You'll begin to attract to yourself what is it you're optimistic about because of the things I've already said. Let's talk about keep your eyes on the star, on your feet on the ground. That one came from President Theodore Roosevelt. He said, keep your eyes on the stars and your feet on the ground. Well, keep your eyes on the stars certainly means keep your eyes on the goal, keep your eyes on the purpose of your life. But in my mind, it means more. The star represents God. Keep your mind on the highest relationship and power that you have to work with. And that is the infinite mind of the universe. Because the infinite mind of the universe is individualized in you as who you are. And it has given you the power of choice to go out and do what you're doing. It's not doing it for you, it's doing it with you and through you, as you. So the idea is to take responsibility for your life, to maintain mindfulness, that is, eyes on the prize, eyes on the stars. When you think about mindfulness, you can think about Paul's saying, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks. It's the same notion. One is Buddhist, one is Christian. But it's the same truth they're looking toward. It is the business of not losing focus of what your life is about. Don't lose focus. You're here for a very special reason. You're not an extra on this film that is happening here, despite the fact that some people will certainly do better than you, but you are not going to be able to, say, compete with somebody. It's not a competition. What you are able to do is do the work that you're here to do and feel a deep satisfaction that what you're doing is important. This one says, it's not what you get, but who you become that's important. It's funny, this one is something that I have said myself slightly differently, but I've been saying it without even knowing that this existed. This one comes from Henry David Thoreau. And what I have been saying to people, it's not what you get, but who you become in the getting that's important. I have been saying that for years. And I didn't see Henry David Thoreau's saying until quite recently. But the idea is, life is not just about what you're getting. So you can see the resume of some people. They've achieved this, achieved that, achieved. The idea is, what is being dangled before you as your goal is really getting you on the path of transformation. It's how you are going to become the best version of yourself that you can become. And isn't that worth it? In the end, it's not what you get, it's who you become in the getting. And some people become egotistical. They become larger than life. They become this and that. And yet, that is really not what is important at all. It's how you become compassionately engaged in your community and how you make a difference and how you help. And these are the things that we need to celebrate and feel good about, because in the end, that's all you can take with you. All this magnificence that you have around you, it won't mean anything when you lie on your deathbed. It won't mean anything. What's going to mean something are the people who love you and how you have loved them and the legacy that you're leaving. Ursula K. Le Guin says something quite wonderful here. She says, "It is good to have an end to journey toward, but it is the journey that matters in the end." Same thing I'm saying. So the idea is that the Buddhists say, look in the direction in which you want to go and start walking. It means a similar thing. Get on your path, because it's not the getting of things. The road is more important than the inn, as Lewis Carroll said. And in that sense, you're on the path of transformation. And if you keep that at the back of your mind, you will find that it will work out beautifully for you. My final sharing, I think it is the final sharing, is knowing is not enough. Apply. Now, this one is from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, the great German equivalent to Shakespeare. This is one of the brilliant minds in the world. He says, knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. Many of us in whatever spiritual tradition we're in tend to want to just pray and let God do it. Well, God is not going to bake the cookies except by means of you. God is not going to make the houses and the cars and the street and fix the roof when it's broken. Yes, we pray to attract what we need, but we must also do what we can. It is that kind of relationship that we have. And so Ernest Holmes himself says, life is what it does. Life is what it does. And if you have knowledge, but you have no work, it means nothing. You know, Paul says something about that. Or not Paul, but James. Faith without works is dead. It got to be, life is something that you participate in. Yes, we need thought, and thought is important. But don't make thought so important that becomes more important than the fact that you're doing. It's not a competition. The doing is vitally important. It's like you're thinking about walking but never walk. You're thinking about eating but never eat. You're thinking about swimming but never swim. No, if you want to be in life, you have to do things. You have to participate. Thoughts mean nothing without work. Optimism means nothing unless we apply ourselves. The great Leonardo da Vinci, you know what he said? He said the supreme misfortune is when theory outstrips performance. Take it from one of the most brilliant minds and hardworking persons who have ever lived, the universal man. Yes, that was Da Vinci. Now, I want to close with something that Ernest Holmes, the founder of the science of mind, religious science, said about taking action. He says, "It would not be normal to spend one's whole life meditating and praying. The belief in the advisability of doing this is the mistaken idea that arises from one's attempt to separate one's self from the world in which he lives. Meditation should stimulate the intellect to renewed and greater objective action." Meditation should stimulate the intellect to renewed and greater objective action. Thus, we should swing from prayer to performance. Isn't that the word that we saw with Leonardo da Vinci? The supreme misfortune is when theory outstrips performance. The second thing is from meditation to action, from contemplation to accomplishment. My friends, these are 6 thoughts I've shared with you today, that if you are willing to apply yourself and to realize that the Spirit of God that inspired the ancient prophets and all the other wonderful people that you admire in the great books, the Hebrew Bible and the Christian Bible, and any other tradition that you belong to, Hinduism, whatever it is, you will realize that it's the same inspiration that is working through people who you may think are secular, because we have divided the world into spiritual and secular. In my own concept, it's all spiritual, it's all sacred. And so if you recognize that when we get an experience and have a deeper insight that we can share, that it is really the idea that we are being inspired anew, that we are in touch with the star, not the one in the sky, but the one that is in the mind sky, the one within the soul, that power that is greater than you are, that you can use, that presence that is most loving and compassionate, that you can feel never orphaned, but at one with. My friends, if you're willing to do this, you will find that you will have those thoughts you need to change your life. God bless you. Hello, friends. Tell me, what would your mother do to support something that is worthwhile? She would precisely be supportive of it. And you've seen that example. And she has set that tone for you. And we have to do the same thing too. And so on Mother's Day, we are going to invite you to do something special. Send us a special gift. Put Mother's Day on it. And put your name on it. And your mother's name on it. And we will certainly do a special blessing for your mother. And if you are the mother, same thing applies. But this is a time when you can support this ministry, and hopefully you're hearing something that is worth your while listening to. Look on the screen and you will see how easy it is for you to be supportive, and it's not going to break your bank. As a matter of fact, as you give, so shall you receive. The law of circulation is activated, and you will find that you are 10 times as blessed as you're giving. So, come on, be part of that. And thank you for doing it. Thank you for those who have been doing it. And let's move forward doing this together to make the ministry as strong as it can be. Thank you. God bless. Let us turn within right now and recognize that we're being inspired, not only by the fact that we have heard different thoughts that can change our lives, but today we are mindful that it's Mother's Day. And we're speaking this word specifically in gratitude for our mother. We are moving into that acceptance and that givingness of infinite blessing as we share it with Mother, as a way of saying, thank you, Mother, for all that you have done. And if you are the mother of your children, I am blessing you right now, knowing that that gift that you bring of love and compassion is one that will echo in and through their lives, not only now, but forever. And so we are totally grateful for that gift, that priceless gift that you are giving right now. And let us know that this feeling of family, this feeling of doing for each other, is not to end within the family. It's not to end within some kind of a tribal feeling. It is to spread out universally to all people in all places, so that we can create that harmony and that love that we all deserve to have on this privileged life on earth. Knowing that this is true, I say thank you, Father, Mother God, and together let us affirm, and so it is. Thank you for sharing this time. Peace.